Hello, this is Angela from Natural Living Alchemy. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how to read an herbal formulation. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to share my favorite tips and some different resources that I use for when I'm wanting to just formulate my own herbal recipes. This video is meant to accompany the Menstruum Basics video that I did recently. In case you missed it, I will have it linked in the description box below this video so that you can check it out. Some other things that you're going to find in that description box would be a link to the full written blog article that does accompany this video. And I'm also going to be putting some other links to some of the resources that I am mentioning, as well as some of the other websites that I pulled our examples off of that we're going to go through shortly. So I am going to be sharing a couple different formulations from two different places. The first one is from herbalista.org. They have something called the Herbalista Free School. It is full of so much free knowledge and information regarding herbal medicines. And the other one is Michael Moore's website. It's the Southwest School of Botanical Medicine. And on there is actually all of his written works. That is an invaluable resource that I definitely suggest anybody would want to check out. Before we get to sharing how to read the herbal formulation, there's just a couple definitions that I do want to go over in case you aren't familiar with them, or if you're just wanting a refresher. So the first one is parts. You will see that word a lot. And parts basically just means a unit of measurement in herbalism. So the fun thing about parts, you get to determine what the amount is. So this ultimately will come down to how much medicine you're wanting to make. So for the sake of ease, I like to just refer to one part as 1 ounce of weight or 1 fluid ounce of volume. But don't worry, I will get to weight to volume in a moment. But your part could be a teaspoon, a tablespoon, a handful, a cup, an ounce, a pound, however much it is that you're wanting to make. The folk method. So this isn't really such a common method found in different herbal formulation books, but it is a method that has been used for as long as people have been making herbal preparations. This method is super simple and there's actually no math skills involved. I like to personally follow this method when I'm making a lot of my infused oils. So you would simply place some herbs in a jar, fill the jar with your chosen menstruum, cover the herbs with the menstruum, shake it daily, and your medicine will be ready in 4 to 6 weeks. And the last definition that I want to go over is weight to volume. So there's 2 different ways that you could prepare any herbal medicine, with dried herb or fresh herb. And you can also do a combination of fresh and dried if that's what you have on hand or if that's what you want to be using. Just remember though, if you are going to be using a combination of fresh and dried herbs, you will need to adjust the total amount of menstruum or solvent that you will be using. And again, there's going to be instructions on how you can do that in that Menstruum Basics Guide video that I mentioned a moment ago. Weight to volume is always written out as a ratio. So the number on the left is going to be our weight, and the number on the right is going to be our volume. So typically, if you're using dried herbs, you would see a ratio of 1 to 5. This means that we would have 1 part herb to 5 part menstruum or solvent. The ratio that you would typically see for fresh herbs is 1 to 2. So this would mean that we would have 1 part herb to 2 parts menstruum or solvent. By following a weight to volume measurement, you're going to be producing the exact same preparation each time. So there is definitely a certain type of consistency that can be found when following a weight to volume ratio. Our first example is from herbalista.org, and this is for a summertime tea. So as you can see, our recipe here is stating hibiscus 1 part, hawthorn 1 part, lemongrass 1 part, lemon balm 1 part, mint 1/2 part, and linden flower 1/2 part. So for sake of ease, we're just going to say 1 part equals 1 ounce. So our weight would be hibiscus 1 ounce, hawthorn 1 ounce, lemongrass 1 ounce, lemon balm 1 ounce, mint 1/2 ounce, and linden flower 1/2 ounce. So that is going to be giving us 5 ounces total of herbs. So for this particular one, super simple because we are just making a tea blend. We could put all of this in a big bowl. We could put the herbs in a resealable or sealable tea bag and just use 2 tea bags per 8 ounces of water. But really, it's a tea. If you wanted to make it stronger, you could. If you wanted to make it weaker, you could by just using less. But that's it. So that is how you would put together a recipe that looks like this. Now, what happens if you have something a little bit more complicated, like this example? And this one is from one of Michael Moore's books, Herb Formulas for Clinic and Home. And this is for a bitter tonic tincture. So the first part that we would want to look when you see something like this is right here. So this is telling us it's a tincture at a ratio of 1:4, 50% alcohol. Okay, so let's first figure out how much herbs that we're going to use, because that's kind of where you need to start here. So we would be using gentian root, 2 ounces, because it's 2 parts, cassia wood, 2 ounces, angelica root and seed, 2 ounces, cardamom seed, 1/2 ounce, bayberry bark, 1/2 ounce. This is going to be giving us 7 ounces of herbs in total. Okay, so we have 7 ounces of herbs, aka 7 parts of herbs, which means we have 7 is our weight times 4, which is our volume. Okay, and that's that first measurement we got where it said tincture 1:4. So now we would have to figure out our volume. So if it's 28 ounces, okay, 28 fluid ounces, and we're using 50% alcohol, that's super simple. We would just take 28, divide that by 2, that would give us 14. So this means we would need 14 ounces of alcohol and 14 fluid ounces of water, okay? Or you could use glycerin or apple cider vinegar, but we're just gonna say for sake of ease, water. All right, so our next example is from Herbalista again, and this is for a deep energy tonic. So we are going to be this time finding our tincture ratio, which is 1:5, but this one says it's going to be using 60% glycerin. So first, we are going to figure out how many herbs we need. So eleuthero root, we would use 1 ounce. Rhodiola root, 1 ounce. Ginger root, 1 ounce. Hawthorn berry, 1 ounce. And Schisandra berry, 1 ounce, which gives us a total weight of 5 ounces. So that means that we have 5 ounces or parts of herbs. So we would take 5, which is our weight, multiply that by 5, which is our volume. So we would need 25 fluid ounces of menstruum. So under this particular formulation, it is saying 60% glycerin. So that would mean we would take your volume of 25 and you're going to multiply that by 0.6 or 60%. And that is going to give us a 15. So that means 15 fluid ounces of glycerin and 10 ounces of water would equal our 25 fluid ounces of menstruum. Okay, we'll do another one. This is for a solitary soother or relax compound. So this is again tinctured at a 1:6 ratio with glycerin at 60% and water or hydrosol at 40%. So let's figure out how many herbs we need first. You may have guessed it by now. So skullcap, we're going to use 1 ounce. Lemon balm, 1 ounce. Tulsi basil, 1 ounce. Milky oats, 1 ounce. And fennel or chamomile, 1 ounce. And this is going to be giving us a total weight of 5 ounces. So that means that we have 5 ounces or parts of herb. So 5 is our weight times 6, which is our volume. This means that we would require 30 fluid ounces of menstruum. So to figure out our volume, we would take 30 times 0.6 or 60%, and this is going to give us 18 fluid ounces of glycerin we require. So how I like to then figure this out, I would take 30 fluid ounces, which is the number that we need, minus 18 fluid ounces, because that's our 60% glycerin, and that leaves us with 12 fluid ounces of water or hydrosol. So if you were wanting, for example, because this one has some other options that we could be adding. So we could put passion flower, motherwort, rose petals, catnip, blue vervain, mimosa flower, or linden are just a couple examples. So all you would do is our weight would then, if you were adding one more, would go to 6. So you would want to do 6 weight times 6 volume would give us 36 fluid ounces of menstruum. If you were wanting to go the other way with this, say for example, you were wanting to make this relax compound, but you did not have any milky oats, you could still make it, but we would just use a weight now of 4 ounces, multiplied that by 6 ounces, which would be our volume. So then you would only need 24 fluid ounces of menstruum. And then from there, you could figure out what 60% was of the glycerin, and the rest would be your water or hydrosol. So what do you do when you come across something that looks like this? This is a catnip fennel tincture that is actually made out of 3 already prepared tinctures. Let's break it down, beginning with the fresh catnip tincture. So what this means is it's at a ratio of 1 to 2. So we are going to be using 1 part of our fresh catnip herb to 2 parts alcohol, okay? Or 2 fluid ounces of alcohol. Now, 95% alcohol. What does this mean? So you are going to need to find the highest percentage that you can. I like to use Everclear. You could use other grain alcohols that you have available to you, but you just need to find the highest one that you can. All right? And then you would just use that straight for your catnip tincture. To make your fennel seed tincture is a ratio of 1 to 5. So we would be using 1 part dried fennel seed, 1 ounce, to 5 parts alcohol, or 5 fluid ounces. So 60% alcohol. What we would need to do is not go out and buy another bottle. We're just going to be using that same one, that same 95%. You're going to dilute it. So you're going to figure out what 60% of 5 is. So that's 3 fluid ounces. So that would mean we need 3 fluid ounces of alcohol added to 2 fluid ounces of water, and that would give us our 60% alcohol that we're needing. And lastly, our licorice root tincture in here is 1 ounce of dried licorice root to 5 fluid ounces of alcohol. But this time we are using a 50% alcohol. So that means we are going to take 2.5 fluid ounces of alcohol and 2.5 fluid ounces of water, and that would give us a dilution of 50%. You would then just take 3 parts of your catnip tincture, 3 parts of your fennel tincture, and 1 part of your licorice root tincture. Mix that all in a bottle, and you could use that for acute gastritis or simple dyspepsia. The final example of how to read different herbal formulations is this one. And this is for a golden seal salve. And no, it's not to teach you how to make a salve. I do have videos on that I can link in that description box below for you to find. But what I want to talk about here is actually the use of alcohol and ammonia water when you're making certain herbal preparations. So golden seal has a group of compounds in it called alkaloids. And you would want to stabilize the alkaloids before you use them. Now, alkaloids are recognizable as they are chemicals that end in the letters I-N-E, such as nicotine, caffeine, and morphine. This is why it is important to know what you're extracting out of your herbal preparations and why you're extracting them, because you want to make sure that you're going to do it safely and efficiently. So what we would want to do with our golden seal is you would want to grind it up and then moisten it with alcohol. Okay, I prefer to use a little spritzer bottle for everything, but it does give you more control rather than just dumping some alcohol on your herbs. You would just want to spritz them with the alcohol, and then you would want to spritz it with an ammonia water. And this is going to help stabilize the alkaloid called berberine, which is found in golden seal. If you were wanting to make the ammonia water, you would just take a 100 milliliter bottle, fill it with 3 to 4 milliliters of ammonia, and then just add an additional 96 to 97 fluid ounces of filtered water. Put that in your spritzer bottle, and then spritzing is just going to give you more control over how much ammonia you're using. And of course, you definitely could skip the ammonia and the alcohol, okay? But just know that it might be a little bit more inferior of a end product when you do that because you haven't neutralized the alkaloids that are present. Now, because the instructions on how to make this salve is telling you to proceed as with the echinacea salve, here are those instructions if you were curious. Okay, so that is how to read an herbal formulation. It might seem a little bit confusing and overwhelming, okay? I might have done a bad job of explaining it because I do have a learning disability regarding numbers. But here we are still trying, and the information was still correct that I gave you. Okay, so next, now that we know how to read a formulation, let us write our own. So this is how to write an herbal formulation. So I like to use this particular form. I did get it out of the Herbal Medicine Maker's Handbook by James Green. So this is an extract information chart. So you would want to put the country name of herb or just what the common name would be. You'd want to write down the Latin and botanical name, and then you would want to put your method. Did you use the folk method? Did you just put some herbs in a jar? You followed your intuition, you covered it with some menstruum and you're good to go? Or did you follow a weight to volume? Okay, throw that ratio in there if that's what you did. So just make sure that you're writing down your total weight of the herbs used, your total menstruum used. Keep in mind, you could still fill this out even by using the folk method. Put your herbs in a jar, okay? Then take them out and see how much was in there, right? You could try it that way. So you would want to put the volume of 190 proof alcohol that you used, and then the amount of either water or vegetable glycerin or what other menstruum, maybe you wanted to use an apple cider vinegar. Just throw all of that in there, okay? Now, batch numbers. If you are making a lot of different herbal medicines, I would suggest you definitely make batch numbers, okay? So say you made the golden seal salve, okay? But say you continuously make the golden seal salve. You could just put the different batch numbers on each different preparation so that you could just follow, maybe if you change something, maybe if you added it, maybe if you took it away, maybe you just got a bad batch of herbs and you're just wanting to go back and see all of the different herbal preparations you made with that one group of herbs, you could, okay? Date prepared, date pressed is pretty self-explanatory. If you wanted to find out how much you're going to get out of your first press, there's a place for you to put that in. You could weigh your wet preparation. You could weigh everything once it's dried. You would want to put your source of herbs and do put down the quality, okay? And then just any other procedure notes that you find important. And then any other feedback that you've received about this type of extract that you've prepared, okay? We don't know necessarily what we would want to change if we are not taking appropriate notes during the entire process. So next, we're going to talk about types of alcohol. So there would be vodka would be 40 to 60% alcohol typically. Now, this is just wonderful if you are tincturing softer plant parts like leaves and flowers. So you could, though, also just take your vodka and you could water it down or dilute it to 40 to 60%, and that would be enough to extract the constituents from the leaves and the flowers. Everclear or grain alcohol, 95%. This is great for tincturing seeds, roots, barks, or resins. You could use brandy, and this would be at 40% alcohol. Now, you wouldn't necessarily be diluting it, okay? But brandy adds sweetness and it can help enhance the flavor of your tinctures. And rum, which generally comes in a 40 to 50% alcohol content, you would want to use with other warming herbs like cinnamon and ginger, as it does help add a touch of sweetness. So just to break it down a different way, 40 to 50% alcohol or 80 to 100 proof is best for extracting the medicinal properties from leaves, flowers, and other soft plant parts. The lower alcohol content, though, will prevent the extraction from becoming too astringent and therefore making it more pleasant to consume. Listen, if your medicine tastes gross, nobody is going to take it. That is another thing just to take into consideration. So 60 to 70% alcohol or 120 to 140 proof. This is ideal for tougher herbs like seeds and roots. So this higher content ensures a strong extraction, allowing you to get that full range of medicinal properties that you are most likely looking for. And lastly, 80 to 95% alcohol or 160 to 190 proof is best for resinous herbs, barks, or seeds. So these parts of the plant contain compounds that are generally more difficult to extract. So using a higher proof of alcohol is necessary for drawing out those medicinal properties. So next I'm going to share a couple charts with you. So these are going to be found linked in that description box in case you can't see them as clearly as I'm hoping you can. So one other thing that is really important to consider when you are making any herbal tincture, glycerin, any other preparation, let's not use herbs that are considered to be at risk. So on this handy chart that Herbalista provided us, you can see anything that has the three little asterisks. I'm not sure if that's pronounced properly. Anyway, don't use them if possible. There are many other herbal allies that we could reach for and just leave the ones that are at risk alone. We have already made certain animals become extinct on our planet from overhunting. Let's not have certain herbal allies also be extinct because we have just overconsumed them. So here's just a couple of different ones going over a lot of different herbs that you could be using for tinctures. It has broken it down to if you would want to add apple cider vinegar, if you would want to add brandy. Okay. So we also have one for glycerite charts. So this is just again how you would want to do it, your ratios for fresh to dried. Okay, as you can see here, golden seal, which is at risk, it is saying it is generally best prepared with a glycerin and apple cider vinegar preparation. So dried would be 1 to 5, 60% glycerin to 40% apple cider vinegar, and it is asking that you only use ones that have been previously cultivated. If you come across a golden seal patch in the woods on your different plant walks and adventures, maybe sit with it, maybe say a prayer, maybe get a blessing, but leave it alone. Okay? So that concludes this, and thanks for watching. I hope that you are feeling much more confident in reading and writing your own herbal formulations. If there's anything that you want explained again, just leave a comment down below and I will get to that as soon as I can. And why don't you also go ahead and comment down below this video and tell me what other things you are interested in learning about regarding herbal medicine making. I would love to hear about it. Don't forget to hit the like button if you've liked this video and share it with anyone else who you think might enjoy it. Consider subscribing to the channel so that we can spend more time together and that you don't miss future videos. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to connect with me over there as well. But I just want to say thanks for stopping by today, and I'll see you next time.